You know, the best sports bettors in the world don't trust their gut. They use analytics to identify trends, which is why we turn to our expert who has done the work. He is a professional sports bettor and host of the Bet the Board podcast. Payne Insider joins us on the phone. Hey, Payne, how's everything?
Everything's great. How are you doing tonight, Steve?
All is well, and I'm really looking forward to this weekend because I think there are a ton of interesting games, a ton of big games this weekend. What amazingly is the game that's seeing the most action, I feel like, in Vegas right now is the Chiefs-Browns. I mean, nobody has faith in Cleveland with that coaching change. Everybody loves Kansas City. Is the public right on this, or is there an exploitable advantage at 8.5 points?
I think you painted the perfect picture, and honestly, just a few minutes ago, I got off the phone with Dave Mason. He's the head odds maker at betonline.ag Sportsbook. He told me right now 95% of the tickets are on Kansas City, just 60% of the money. So professional bettors are backing the Browns here. This line opened in the dead zone around 9, and some of the sharpest shops right now trending towards 7. And I think you mentioned the coaching change, and it's odd for me because the national sentiment seems to think Greg Williams is just like this laughing stock. And, listen, he could fail just like every other Cleveland coach the last few decades, but, man, he won a Super Bowl ring holding one of the most prolific passers in Peyton Manning to a net 10 points in the biggest game of the year.
Right.
And you look at some of the regression the last few weeks from the Cleveland offense, the defense is still holding up their end of the bargain. Third in overall efficiency on the defensive side of the ball, despite getting put in these poor spots. So I don't think Williams is the issue. The other interesting move here was the Browns organization promoted Freddie Kitchens to OC and play caller. He's a Bruce Arians disciple. I'm being told many thought he was the best offensive mind in the Cleveland building. Sources tell me 2 of the best days of offensive practice they've seen in the last 3 years happened this week. Let's see if it translates to the field on Sunday, but pros are backing the Cleveland Browns here in this spot.
And Cleveland forces a ton of turnovers, and Greg Williams is a chance-taking defensive play scheme, so it's going to be boom or bust, I think, for the Browns in this one. As for the Rams,
Williams sends the blitz 41% of the time. It's pretty wild. He gets after you.
Yeah, well, you've got to be prepared for extra man coming, that's for sure, on every single play. How about this Rams-Saints game, though? This should be the game of the week. I mean, we're halfway through the season, and combined, they have won all but one game. But here's the thing. In the past 5 games, the Rams have only covered one time. They're favored by 2 in this one. Where does the sharp money land here?
It's crazy to say the 8-0 Rams could actually be undervalued, but you're spot on. They've covered the number just once in 5 games. In the biggest game last Sunday, Los Angeles fails to cover. And despite Gurley, I thought, made the correct decision on field, for sure. But I think Rams bettors feel a little bit burned by that. When you look at this matchup, if Gurley can't get going on the ground, what happens next? And we know the Saints defense, they've been pretty stingy. Right now they allow just 42% of runs to grade successful. That's 4th best in the NFL. They're 3rd best in explosive run defense. They're number 1 in opponent yards per rush attempt. If they can stop Gurley, that's huge. If he gets going, this game's over because you can't stop a multiple McVay offense. They're also getting Cooper Kupp back. The only hope for the Saints defense is to choke out that ground game and make Jared Goff beat you.
Well, see, and that's actually one of the things I really wanted to focus on because the over in this game has now moved up to 60.5 points. Don't you think, I don't want to put words in your mouth here, but do you think that that's too much considering the improvement of the Saints defense over the past few games?
So here's what's tough for me, and we've seen this a lot this year. 60.5 was the highest total of the entire season, and most groups' algorithms, their database just doesn't go that high. So we've seen some under money come in. Part of it has to do with the Saints being stout against the run. Their secondary making some improvements. As you mentioned, the last 3 games, New Orleans is allowing 1.2 yards less per pass attempt than their season average. You'd also think Eli Apple having more time with a new scheme helps too. But I think the biggest reason I believe this total has come down just a little bit is because the Saints offense. I just don't love what they've done the last 2 weeks. You look at Sean Payton and Drew Brees, they've become really conservative. I don't love the receiving weapons outside of Michael Thomas right now. On Sunday Night Football, they faced just a beat-up Vikings defense with a decimated secondary. Brees attempts 1 deep pass all game. That's how you have to beat the Rams defense. They're 29th in explosive pass defense. I would hope New Orleans becomes a little bit more aggressive here. The other thing that you have to factor in is Donald and Sue against a great interior of the Saints offensive line. If you can get pressure in Breeze's face, that's where he hates it. He becomes a different quarterback. He's only 5'11". If you can get pressure right up the middle, it really makes this Saints offense a little bit different looking.
And teams have been taking away that short passing attack the Saints have lived by over the past few years, forcing him to go deep, and he hasn't quite made that adjustment. We will see if he can make that adjustment against the Rams, which, as you said, are a little vulnerable over the top. Sunday night, though, Patriots favored against the Packers. Heavy money on Green Bay has moved this line from 7 down to 5. And here's another little nugget. Since 2013, when the line moves against New England, they cover 70% of the time. Is that a telling stat?
It's certainly a scary proposition trying to fade Belichick and Brady at home in Gillette Stadium. There's no doubt about it. But what I found pretty telling, Steve, since 2012, New England has only been favored by less than 6 points 6 times. They're 2-4 against the spread in those games.
Wow.
And I think what you'll notice is a Patriots team that's had the easiest schedule the last 3 seasons combined because their division is poor. And the AFC has been really down outside of Pittsburgh a few years. If you scroll the list of quarterbacks New England has faced at home the last 3 seasons, it's pretty laughable. And we know Aaron Rodgers just a different animal. As his health continues to improve, the offense is starting to ascend. A few weeks back, we talked about this Packers team, and I said they're average everywhere. Well, things have changed. Right now, Green Bay, 6th most efficient offense. They've played the 5th toughest schedule of defenses. It is a pass-happy team, and you can't blame them for being that with Aaron Rodgers, but they're actually 2nd in the NFL in rushing success rate because they're getting Aaron Jones going. There was also a concerning quote that I read from Tom Brady this week. He said, hey, this is just another game. No silver trophy is on the line. I thought that was pretty telling. You still have a couple guys beat up for New England as well. Gronk looks like a shell of himself dealing with the back and the ankle. Sony Michel is going to try to go, but he's not 100%. The starting right tackle, Marcus Cannon, is out for this game as well, and you have a Packers defense 2nd in adjusted sack rate. The pro side is Green Bay here, but at 6 or better, and I think that's important to tell folks. 6 is a secondary key number, and since the extra point was moved back, 6 is the number that's improved the largest amount in terms of importance in the NFL, Steve.
What's amazing is that it doesn't matter who's out there catching the ball. It doesn't matter who's hurt on the offensive side. TB12 always seems to find a way to make things happen. But again, we'll find that out on Sunday. That's, I guess, the best way to wrap up the NFL weekend this weekend. You can get all of his insights, by the way, on the Bet the Board podcast. So go download that right now. Pro Sports Bettor Payne Insider. Thanks, buddy.
Have a great night, Steve.
All right, stick around. We'll be right back.